Hello, this is Aprendiendo Juntos, Learning Together, Learning to Provide Care. My name is Dr. Rocio Norman, and this is module number 2, Communication. In this module, we're going to talk about optimizing communication for your loved one. We take a step back and we think about the role of communication in our lives. We communicate to connect, to meet needs, and to provide support to our family members and friends. In this presentation, we will discuss the relationship between dementia and communication, and also provide you with some tips for communication. So how does dementia affect communication? Some of the most common communication problems as a result of dementia include difficulty with understanding and with being able to express oneself, having problems finding the appropriate word to use in a specific situation, having a lack of consistency in communication. So perhaps early in the day when there's lots of energy, communication is intact and very functional, but towards the end of the day when there's more fatigue setting in, there's not as much functional communication and the person starts breaking down or just not communicating verbally as much. Often there is a repetition of thoughts or different phrases, and in the later stages, you'll find that there's more unintelligible speech, so speech that is not easily understood. In early stages of dementia, our loved ones may find that they cannot find words or names in an appropriate time frame. There might be long pauses and slower responses during communication. There might be some rapid shifts from topic to topic, but the individual will often compensate by self-correcting and apologizing for communication failures. In stage 2, middle stage dementia, your loved one may ask you to repeat several times before they understand you. They may demonstrate difficulty following simple directions unless there's some coaching involved. At this stage, you'll start to see a loss of factual knowledge, and your loved one might find that they cannot remember familiar words or names of people that they are familiar with. In the later stages of dementia, the communication problems become much more amplified. Naming becomes seriously impaired, and so vocabulary becomes very limited. Your loved one will have a hard time understanding simple words. They may talk or babble excessively, but that babbling and that talking will have very little meaning. And in the late stages, your loved one may withdraw and not speak at all. So what does this mean for caregivers? That from the research, that the best strategy to optimize communication for adults living with dementia is by training their caregivers. We all understand that dementia is a progressive disorder, and so there's not a lot of strategies that we can use directly with our loved one. We have to change the way that we talk. So one of the best strategies that has been evidence-based is called the FOCUS program. And FOCUS is all in capital letters because it stands for the different strategies that the caregiver will use in communicating with their loved one. And so we'll start with F. F stands for face-to-face. And this means that when you are attempting to communicate with your loved one, you want to face them directly on and attract their attention by maintaining eye contact. So you want to avoid communicating with your loved one while you're in another room or on another floor of the house. You want to make sure that all communication is using verbal and nonverbal communication. O stands for orientation. You want to orient your loved one by repeating key words several times. You want to paraphrase verbatim what they've told you so that they can check understanding and give them time to comprehend what you say. So one of the most prominent symptoms of dementia is having problems with speed of information processing. So you want to slow down that rate of speech to give them the time to understand what you said. C means continuity. That means that it is very difficult for our loved one to maintain different topics of conversation if they are rapidly changing. So you want to continue the same topic of conversation for as long as possible. Prepare your loved one if a new topic must be introduced. U stands for unsticking. So there will be times where there will be some communication breakdowns. And it's your job as the caregiver to help your loved one become unstuck. So when they become frustrated, you might suggest a word that they are looking for if they cannot find the right one. But you want them to maintain their agency, so you don't want to correct them in an insensitive way. So perhaps your strategy might be to repeat their sentence using the correct word, or ask, "Did you mean?" and use the target word. S stands for structure, and this means that you want to simplify your communication exchanges as much as possible. So if you're asking a question, you want to make sure that your questions allow your loved one to respond with a simple choice. Only provide two options at a time, and also provide options that your loved one would appreciate. So for example, if you're discussing what to have for lunch and you know that your loved one loves soup and salad, provide those two options and maybe not another option that they would not be akin to. E stands for exchange. So you want to make sure that you are communicating in a way that provides connection, provides that personal connection with your loved one. Get to know their common familiar topics, get to know what they like to talk about, and make sure that you take turns. Granted, your loved one might not take a long conversational turn, but at least pause and give them time to maybe come up with maybe a nonverbal response. Encourage communication that is engaging and try not to quiz them. Our last strategy means it stands for being direct. Keep your sentences short, simple, and direct. Use specific, concrete nouns rather than pronouns. Use your face to describe how you're feeling. Hand signals, pictures, photo albums, any kind of visual prop, and your facial expressions will go a long way towards communicating effectively with your loved one. And as we close today, I want you to think about one tip that you've learned about communication that you will plan on utilizing with your family member the next time you see them. Thank you for your time today.